Yo, welcome back to another video. Today we are in the Great League Remix, and let's try out this team here. We're going to be looking at the Goodra paired with the Jellicent and the Shadow Gligar. Here we kind of have a good matchup where we are able to throw a potential Thunder Punch. This Thunder Punch here will be able to do significant damage. Our opponent does elect to shield it. Now we have to make a call. Do we shield here or do we let it go? We decided to just call it. We do call the right move. We don't shield that move, and they actually just go for a double Weather Ball. They switch out into their Poliwrath, and we have the Jellicent for the Poliwrath. We're going to be able to apply a ton of pressure here. Oh, our opponent does debuff our attack, I believe. So this Shadow Ball will not do as much damage. They actually shield again. It looks like they're going to be electing to keeping this Poliwrath as healthy as possible. We go for another Shadow Ball. This Shadow Ball here will not KO this Poliwrath since it's already debuffed. Our opponent here is oh wow, a little bit of lag right there. Our opponent does go for another Skull, and it does take out our Jellicent, so that's pretty good for our opponent. We're going to be able to farm down with the Gligar, so we are going to be able to use this shield, protecting the Weather Ball to get thrown. They actually switch out of that situation and go into their own Gligar. But because we have shield advantage and and energy advantage, we should be fine here. Another arrow ace goes through. It gets them into the low red. We're going to tank this move here because we're going to save one of the shields for their backline just in case they have a move. Arrow ace takes out this Gligar, and we're going to try to combo play here. We have a move on our Goodra. Go into our Goodra, fire off the Thunder Punch, and it does KO the Pelipper. So GG's to our opponent, able to win that double flying team paired with that Poliwrath. So we were able to figure out that team for the win. Next game, let's see what we find. We have the interesting pairing of Goodra and Jellicent. The Jellicent kind of does a great job of covering the Goodra weaknesses. If not, it at least applies enough pressure for potential big damage or some shields. Here we're going to face this Gligar. Gligar here versus our Goodra. Kind of a neutral matchup. We are going to be able to reach this Aqua Tail here, but they do catch a move. The Aqua Tail does get caught onto their own Quagsire. We're going to try to catch our own move here, thinking that they are running the Mud Bomb, but it looks like they're going to be throwing a lot of Aqua Tail. So Aqua Tail, Quagsire, a little bit unfortunate for this Gligar. Our opponent here is going to shield once at least, because we are threatening potential KO. We're going to allow this one to go through because not only do they have a good amount of energy, but also our backline is pretty decent against this Quagsire. So we're going to allow whatever we bring back in to get some good farm. They elect to go for the Stone Edge, dealing some good damage towards this Goodra. Our opponent here reveals that they have Poliwrath in the back. Poliwrath here is going to potentially have to tank this Thunder Punch, but they elect to just shield it. And now we have the Jellicent onto the Poliwrath. We know that we can survive this move here. They elect to go for the Icy Wind. They try to go for a catch. However, they were going to tank a potential move anyways. So this time we get a pick, and we do elect to go for the Surf. Our Surf does hit a lot of neutral damage, but they're going to be able to get to this move here. Arrow Ace gets this Jellicent into the low yellow. We're looking for a farm down. We do get the farm down, and that allows us to come out with a ton of energy. That was a great farm down by us. Shadow Ball gets thrown right here, does roughly 50%, a little bit less, and we just have to shield right here. It's most likely going to be the Icy Wind. Okay, and we got to hope that this Shadow Ball that is double debuff is good enough with the KO, and yes it is. So GG's to our opponent, able to win that game with the Jellicent. Jellicent actually coming in clutch versus the Poliwrath and the Gligar. So that was a really good play by us. Next game, we have the Goodra versus the Politoed. Okay, interesting matchup here. We don't want to see this Politoed onto our Gligar because they're going to be able to spam a ton of Weather Balls. We're going to allow this first one to go through. Ends up being the Ice Beam. Ice Beam gets revealed, and that does a huge amount of damage. However, we are able to survive it, so that's good news for us. They're going to be able to pace to the next Weather Ball, so we're going to allow it to go through. Come into our Jellicent. They counter swap into their Sableye. We have the Gligar for this situation. We know that this Gligar here is going to shield once. We're going to overfarm a ton and then go for the dig. This potentially KOs the Sableye from this range, and it does, so they decide to let it go. Wow, ends up being the Frostlass in the back. Frostlass is going to be able to take advantage versus this Gligar, as it is able to do these double super effective ice moves. But now we have to consider shielding or letting this go. We decide to shield here. Ends up being the Shadow Ball, so that's good for us. And then now we have to farm a little bit and then potentially undercharge here. We go for the Surf on purpose so that we can get some good energy out of this situation. They don't have any good moves that are going to be super effective. However, it looks like they have a ton of energy. Double Weather Ball gets thrown here. We're not going to be able to farm down, unfortunately. So we have to go for another undercharge. And then we're going to see if we can farm down. Oh man, this Politoed is a menace. Able to get a bunch of Weather Balls to go off, and enough so that they are low enough that they can just get a avalanche to go through. So GG's to our opponent. That Politoed, kind of difficult to deal with, especially since they were able to basically take out our Goodra. So nice play by them. In hindsight, maybe we should have thrown more bubbles on that second Surf so that it deal a little bit more damage. Okay, here we have the switching of Scrafty. We have the Gligar for the Scrafty. We know we can tank any move, so we're going to allow the first one to go through. And then we're going to build up a ton of energy, throw this Arrow Ace before they get to their next move. Let's see if our opponent ends up shielding or letting this go. They decided to let it go. Okay, and now they bring in their Bubble Jellicent. So we can only get to one move, so we're going to throw this Dig. Does some good neutral damage, but they're going to be able to farm us down. We're going to come back in with our own Goodra here. Because it's going to be a little bit more tankier. We can tank this Shadow Ball. Ends up being the Shadow Ball. And, okay, they have the Salazzle in the back. Salazzle here is going to struggle against this Jellicent, as their fast move is not really doing much. Their potential Poison Jab is not going to do that much. But also, we have 2 shields, so they realize that that's the situation, and they end up GG quitting. So that was a good game by us there. Luckily, we did have great alignment on every street. Gligar onto their Scrafty, and then we had Gligar throw some good energy towards that Jellicent so that we can have the Goodra to tank the move. Alright, here we got the Chestnut versus the Goodra. They switch out into their Steelix. We don't necessarily have a great counter to the Steelix, so we're just going to go into our Jellicent here. We are going to be able to build up to 2 Surfs. So we're going to throw 1 Surf here, potentially getting a shield. They actually let it go. We're going to be able to throw another Surf here. This is going to get the KO, or it's going to get the shield. So they elect to let it go. Okay, so we at least are able to maintain alignment. They're going to come back in with their Chestnut here. We're trying to get to a move, but unfortunately not even able to get to that Surf. That was a good farm down by them. We're going to come back in here with the Gligar. Our opponent here does throw a move. Ends up being the Superpower. They do Superpower and Dip. Okay, so Reggie's still in the back here. It is going to be kind of interesting. We're going to allow this one to go through. Focus Blast not effective. However, it is going to deal enough damage to get us into the low red. And that was probably a mistake. So we're going to have to switch out of that situation. Go into our Goodra. We going to throw this Aqua Tail here. Aqua Tail does some good neutral damage. We do have 2 shields. We're going to invest them into this Goodra right now. Our opponent here is going to have to switch out eventually. They do switch out into their Chestnut. Chestnut here is going to be pretty decent against our Goodra, as this Superpower here is going to be able to do some neutral damage. Let's see if we get a shield from our opponent here. No shield. We are able to farm down at least, so we do have some energy here. We're going to throw this Aqua Tail to potentially get this low enough for a potential farm. No farm, unfortunately. We're going to have to throw this Arrow Ace here to get this last shield. Do we have enough energy? No, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to do it. So GG's to our opponent. Check out this team if you haven't already, and let us know if you enjoyed the video.